Hello, welcome to NAFDAC and Your Health. On this program, we bring you the activities of NAFDAC in fulfilling a mandate of safeguarding the health of the nation. I am Okpejemi Urimolade. On today's episode of NAFDAC and Your Health, we are focusing on the laws guiding the operations of NAFDAC and punishments meted out to violators of NAFDAC's regulatory laws, the support NAFDAC enjoys from the legislature, and efforts to make the punishments due to violators of the agency's regulatory laws stricter. NAFDAC, as the agency charged with the responsibility of safeguarding the health of Nigerians by ensuring that the food products, drugs, water, chemicals, and other regulated products under its control made available to the public are wholesome and of best quality. However, there have always been errant producers and sellers of unwholesome products, and NAFDAC has always risen up to its constitutional responsibility by ensuring that such unscrupulous people are investigated, arrested, and dealt with within the ambit of the law. While some have ignorantly been of the opinion that NAFDAC goes too far in delivering its mandate, others, in their wisdom, are of the opinion that the punishments meted out to the violators of NAFDAC's regulatory rules are rather too little compared to the crimes they committed.
It's unfortunate that even our C-34 bill that was created to mitigate substandard falsified medicines and unwholesome food, the fine was too small, even when it was made. Not to talk of where Naira is now. So, about 3 years ago, we didn't know that there would be Naira 4. The management looked at what the fines are, and the council of NAFDAC then decided that we should revise the C-34 bill. So it was revised, and we were fortunate to have Night Assembly that took it up as member-friendly amendment in the House. That is the chair of Healthcare Services at that point. So the Night Assembly started revising it with us, of course, with our legal. So they increased the fine. Where a situation where somebody is selling tramadol at a high strength that can fry the brain of anybody that uses it, or in a situation where the so-called pediatric drug for children will have zero content. If you give that violator 5 years or 250,000 naira, which sometimes happen, you can just know that it doesn't make sense. Something that can kill a child that has upper respiratory infection, and the parents will go and buy medicine, the child will not be well, the child will die, and they will say it's Ogbanje. No. They say Abiku. No. The medicine mightn't have any content, and if a 5 years or 250,000 naira is given, we are part of the problem as a country. So that is part of why the Night Assembly revised the bill. Unfortunately, the former administration of President Buhari couldn't sign it. It was ready to be signed, but it wasn't there on time. So the 10th Assembly has taken it up. Now, they are thinking of even increasing the fine further, maybe considering the Naira 4. So that is our laws that are now being revised. We have two. One is the campaign one, which is the Central Parents Act, and of course the C-34 bill for substandard falsified and unwholesome foods.
NAFDAC does not prosecute for just one or some of its regulated products, but all.
We prosecute for drugs, but drugs have more problems than food, So relatively speaking, we prosecute more for drugs. For those that fake wines, of course we will prosecute them, you know. But drugs have more issues than food. But whether it's food or drug or chemicals or whatever, we prosecute.
The law is no respecter of anybody. If a sane and tranquil society must be maintained. This is why NAFDAC is never prejudicial in carrying out necessary investigations, enforcement, and ultimately prosecuting anyone found culpable. This is why the agency continues to advise that it is better people abstain from violating the regulatory stipulations to avoid the wrath of the law.
For those intending to commit the crime, you commit the crime, you do the time. Because now we have judges that are listening to us. You do not need to kill a child with gun before you kill that child. Just give that child medicine that has no content, and that child will die, and you have committed a murder. And what is the sentence for a murder? Everybody knows. So our judiciary is stepping up. Sometimes we do our own sanction. We have tariffs that are greater than 250,000 naira. So our own tariffs that were approved by the council, we also use that to sanction them instead of going to court. But so many times we go to court, and some, actually few cases, some people have gone to jail up to 7 years. So it's not like people don't go to jail. It's just that we need more of that, so that there will be deterrent. If you have to pay 250,000 naira, you go to ATM to get it. The tendency to go back and commit the same crime is high. But the judiciary is stepping up, and we hope that they will even step up more.
The program continues after this short break.
Substandard, falsified, and counterfeit medicine is a threat to maternal and child health. NAFDAC, in its commitment to prevent maternal death and drastically reduce child morbidity, advises healthcare providers to ensure that quality, safe, and efficacious medicines registered by NAFDAC and properly stored are used. NAFDAC requires that registered medicines must have NAFDAC registration number, batch number, manufacturer's name and actual location address, manufacturing date, expiry date, and scratch and test for anti-malaria and antibiotic medicines. NAFDAC advises the general public to purchase medicines from registered pharmaceutical retail outlets as prescribed by the healthcare providers. NAFDAC, safeguarding the health of the nation.
It's good to know that you're still there. You're still watching NAFDAC in your health. The notion, sometimes expressed by some quarters, that NAFDAC goes too far in its regulatory activities, particularly in its investigation and enforcement, is obviously born out of ignorance. This is because NAFDAC is not just an agency created without the backing of the Constitution. The agency was established by law, and all its activities are clearly outlined in the laws of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. This begins with the law that established the agency.
We have the parent law. That's the law that created NAFDAC and is known as National Agency for Food and Drug Administration and Control Act, Cap N1 2004. That law is what gave birth to NAFDAC. It used to be known as Decree 15 of 1993, but the civilian administration has been on in Nigeria for a while, so that name of decree had already been dropped. It is now known as NAFDAC Act, which is contained is LFN, that's Laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004, as Cap N1 2004. Then That law, like I have said, is the law that created NAFDAC, the administrative setting, the appointment of the Director General, the formation of directorates, and that is the law that states the functions and powers of NAFDAC in terms of manufacturing, importation, exportation, distribution, and sale of NAFDAC regulated products. And this comprises of food, drugs, medical devices, chemical, bottled water, etc. All these, they have what is called related products.
There is also the Food and Drug Registration Act.
It's known as Cap F33. That law, takes care of registration of NAFDAC regulated products. In that law, you find in section 1, it says, no food, no drug, and other related products should be manufactured, imported, exported, distributed, or sell or use in Nigeria unless it has been registered by NAFDAC. Meaning, once a NAFDAC regulated product is not registered by NAFDAC, so the importation, the distribution, the sale, the use, as well as the exportation of the same product is against the law. Because in that law, it outlines how a product is registered as well as the process that are in place to be followed for a product to say is registered. That is for NAFDAC to make pronouncement on that product after going through the processes that make it to be the product to be registered and a number is allocated.
Another law guiding the operations of NAFDAC is the Food and Drug Law.
That one is also known as Food and Drug Laws, Cap F32, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004.
There is also the law on counterfeit drugs and wholesome processed foods.
That is the law that addresses issues of substandard products, fake products, bad, unwholesome processed food. You understand? And that is one instrument that actually is in place to ensure that the proliferation and dealings on substandard medicine, fake medicine, unwholesome processed food are dealt with, both the product itself as well as the companies or individuals that deals on those unwholesome food and fake or substandard medicine or drugs.
The laws have been the guide to the operations of NAFDAC, and by putting them to appropriate use, NAFDAC has been recording great successes.
The regulatory activities that is taking place, in the country as we speak now, in tracking, pursuing, and seizing those fake products for regulatory reasons, you understand, in various Nigerian cities. And sometime, I think in 2024, yes, just last year, there was an operation like that in Kano, and it has helped so much. NAFDAC, with collaboration of PCN, actually embarked on such cleaning exercise of fake drugs in the market, you understand, and that actually has helped Nigerians and helped the country as well, because there is sanity, you understand, in drugs market.
Attestations that NAFDAC is winning the war are the destruction exercises routinely carried out by NAFDAC, during which large quantities of fake, counterfeited, substandard, and unwholesome regulated products confiscated around the country are destroyed. The director in charge of investigation and enforcement of NAFDAC also attests to the agency's successes.
NAFDAC is winning the war. And in addition to that too, after the field operation, the suspect must, make statement. After the statement, we detain the suspect. We sample the products against the suspect. We send the product to the lab, and then the result of the lab analysis also determine the next line of action, whether it will go for destruction, that is one, or it will go for prosecution, or we treat the case administratively. Okay. But for most cases, all the cases that NAFDAC does are criminal cases. They are not civil cases. So even a case of one single tablet or capsule or injection are criminal cases and can go to court, for prosecution.
In spite of enforcement exercises, arrests, and prosecutions, there are still several cases in court, according to NAFDAC's prosecuting counsels.
I can say that on my table, I have nothing less than 60 cases bordering on drug offenses, on wholesome processed food. These cases I spoke of are spread across the whole federation, both in the north, east, south as well. So NAFDAC is doing all we can do that's within our power to ensure that this country is safe.
We advise them to, if they must deal on any products, they should pass through the normal procedure. If they want to register it, let them register with NAFDAC, because once they are caught, we will prosecute.
And now, moving on to NAFDAC news updates. The management of the National Agency for Food and Drug Administration and Control, NAFDAC, recently held a crucial meeting with the management of Helion Pharmaceutical Limited at the Solo, Lagos State Office Complex of the agency. The meeting was to strengthen the collaboration between the agency and the pharmaceutical company towards ensuring that genuine drugs and other pharmaceutical products are made available to Nigerians at all times. The meeting was also an avenue to discuss ways of further promoting the local manufacturing industry, which will help the country to be less dependent on imported drugs. The discussions held and conclusions arrived at the meeting will, in no time, begin to have a great positive and transformative impact on the Nigerian pharmaceutical industry. In a similar vein, the management of Neuropharm Limited, another pharmaceutical company, also paid a visit to the Director General of NAFDAC, Professor Mojisola Adeyeye, at the agency's office complex in Isolo, Lagos. The meeting was in recognition of the great work the NAFDAC DG has been doing to help the Nigerian pharmaceutical industry to develop and to be able to stand at par with reputable pharmaceutical companies across the globe. The meeting also signified the company's readiness to continue to abide by NAFDAC's regulatory policies and directives in order to join hands with the agency in safeguarding the health of Nigerians. Other relevant issues concerning how Nigerians can continually have access to quality and efficacious drugs were also discussed. The Bayelsa State Office of NAFDAC recently held a stakeholders meeting with the Association of Table Water Producers in the state. The meeting was part of NAFDAC's drive to sensitize the Association of Water Producers towards ensuring that they observe the necessary good hygiene practice and good manufacturing practice as they carry out their operations. The stakeholders meeting was prompted by the increasing number of unregistered and unapproved sachet water in the state. The meeting was also a way to mitigate the menace of producing and packaging water in spaces that are far from meeting the required standards and without necessary facilities. The agency also took the water producers through the process of registration and getting NAFDAC approval. This served as a great eye-opener for most of the water producers who had hitherto thought that the process of registering and getting their products approved by NAFDAC was so tedious and cumbersome. The Association of Table Water Producers in Bayelsa State expressed gratitude to Bayelsa State Office of NAFDAC for organizing the highly enlightening meeting.
That was NAFDAC Update. You have been updated.
We have come to the end of our package on this episode of the program. Do join us again next week for another enlightening episode of the program. We're always ready to receive your comments, your complaints, reports and observations on fake, expired or adulterated food products, drugs and other NAFDAC regulated products.
You can reach NAFDAC via toll-free numbers. For inquiries, call 0700 162 3322. For complaints, call 0800 162 3322. You may also email NAFDAC at nafdac.gov.ng. If you have complaints about any form of misconduct, you can reach the Reforms Unit via email reforms@nafdac.gov.ng or call the Reforms hotlines on 0909 763 0506 or 0909 763 0507. NAFDAC, customer focused, agency minded.
Remember, importing, producing, advertising, distributing and selling of fake, unapproved and expired food products, drugs and cosmetics endanger lives and they are criminal. Join the drive to safeguard the health of the nation by reporting any suspicious activity in your area. Till we come your way again next week, stay safe.